Yeah. All right. Welcome to this episode of Data in the Hallway. I'm excited to have a good friend of mine, Rajendra Kadam, who I known probably since around like 2019 from my GitLab days. So Rajendra, welcome. Good morning to you in India, and thanks for joining a few days before you go on your summer holidays. Rajendra, I'll just turn things over to you. I'll let you introduce yourself and tell folks where you're located.
Yeah. Thanks, Ray, for having me here.
Yeah.
It's good to be here on the other side of the podcast. We are talking about hackathons. I'm Rajendra Kadam from Mumbai, India. I work at a company called GitLab as a senior backend engineer, and I have been participating in hackathons since 2020, which includes GitLab's hackathons, but not limited to GitLab only.
Yeah. Cool. It's great to have you. Uh, yeah, and the topic today, as people are probably noticing now, is about hackathons. I mean, here at PingCAP with the TiDB community, we'll be kicking off our annual hackathon. And I'm not going to talk too much about our hackathon, but one of the conversations I wanted to have with people like Rajendra is what's the value of the hackathon? I mean, both for the company and also for participants. I mean, obviously, you like a Google search hackathon, you'll probably find hundreds of them that's happening like virtually or in person in your local area. And obviously, there's a reason why it's popular. So I wanted to have Rajendra. I mean, Rajendra has been prolific. When I started, I think I started the GitLab quarterly hackathon in the fall of 2018. I think that's when we started, and then pretty quickly, I'm glad you discovered us, Rajendra. Back then, you weren't a GitLab employee, and you were certainly very prolific in a lot of our hackathons and won a lot of our prizes. Yeah, I mean, tell us. I mean, you obviously participated in GitLab hackathons, but what other hackathons have you participated in the past?
There was one other hackathon that I did while in my
Mm,
college. It was JP
mm,
Morgan Code for Good hackathon. Unfortunately, I
okay.
don't have any pictures of the hackathon because we were not allowed to click any pictures since it's a financial organization. The data
All right.
privacy is super more
Yeah.
important to them. And
Right.
there was a strict rule that if someone found taking a picture through their phone camera or something, they would be disqualified from the hackathon.
Oh
So
wow.
that hackathon was organized by JP Morgan, and it was organized in all the colleges across Mumbai University. So the theme of the hackathon was simple. They had a few NGO organizations on board. They had a few problems that they face in their day-to-day activities regarding their own NGOs, about their functions, about whatever they do the good work for. And
Hmm.
the problem for the hackathon was to bring a solution enabled with tech to solve the problems of these NGOs. So
Hmm.
during the hackathon, there were like around, I think, 120 students in total from across all the colleges. They were divided into groups of five. So we had a lot of groups, and each group was given a problem from each of the NGO. So, but
Hmm.
only one problem per group was given. And I think we had 24 hours in total to build a solution, which was enabled with tech and also working solution. It was not expected to be a full-fledged something that could be deployed, but rather just an idea, just a concept was enough. But
Hmm.
having a working solution was expected because that would, increase the chances of winning. So, and the main thing about the hackathon was I didn't know who are my team members. I actually got them to meet
Hmm.
at the place, at the venue. Until then, I was all like, it was a black box. Who I'm going to be working with? What are the technical skills,
Hmm.
and how would I work with them if I don't know them? It was all to be figured out within those 24 hours, right?
Hmm.
So I met them at the venue, and then we got the problem. We started building solution. So I decided to lead the team because I had a clear goal, clear vision of winning that hackathon at the
Hmm.
first prize. I don't want to be a runner-up or you will lose the hackathon, lose the
Right.
competition. So I decided to just meet my team members at the venue and told them, hey people, so I'm just here to build the solution to the problem and win this.
Hmm.
I'll help you out with all the contributions that you want to do. I'll segregate the work. We'll break down work into modules, and have each person working on a separate module, and you can start begin your work. So that is what I did. And after 24 hours, we had a working solution. We gave a demo, and ironically, our team number was 1, and we
Oh,
also
okay.
did win the hackathon. We got the
Nice.
first prize,
Right.
and there was a presentation at the end of the working solution demo. So we also
Hmm.
had to present about how did we go about it, what was our thought process while building this problem solution. And yeah, I mean, we were awarded with iPad 2017. I think
Oh,
I
wow.
don't remember the generation of the iPad, but I think it was third
Right.
generation 2017.
Right.
And since like there were 5 of us in my team, out of that, 3 of us, including me, got a full-time job offers from JP Morgan.
Oh,
And
wow.
later we got to know that JP Morgan had conducted this hackathon specifically to hire people right out of college.
Oh, okay.
So this
Right.
was their alternate way of interviewing, testing students' real life skills of how they work under pressure within 24 hours. Are they collaborative? Are they transparent? Are they efficient with their solutions? And there were subject matter experts, which were JP Morgan's
Hmm.
own employees, who were
Right.
actually keeping a watch on all of this stuff and grading students internally about how are they taking it within the
Okay.
hackathon. Yeah.
Right. So were they like, I assume there were like organizers like over 24-hour period actively like, I mean, monitoring may be a bad word, but sort of observing people, like how they're behaving. Are these people like actively contributing? Like, did you notice that like during the hackathon or like,
Yes, I
yeah,
did notice. So
yeah,
yeah, you exactly said like monitoring would be the bad word, but just they were
right,
just patiently observing about how is everyone
right,
doing and all that stuff. They were
right.
also helping us in case we got stuck somewhere. So those
Okay.
subject matter experts were technically sound people. They have been in the industry for a few years, and
Mm-hmm.
so they were also trying to help us in case someone gets stuck with technical problem, technical issue. They were trying to help them to resolve that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean, they were seeing how the teamwork was being done, where everyone is
Mm.
collaborating, all of that stuff, including the
Right,
technical
right,
perception about what they have within the college,
right.
like being in the college.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, interesting how, companies like JP Morgan are using it as almost like a recruiting tool or like,
yeah,
live interviewing over or like a 24-hour period. So, I mean, tell me a little bit more about the team. You said that I mean, obviously this was an in-person event at a venue somewhere. Like, how were the teams like assigned? Like, I mean, this is like you said, like 120 people in 5 teams, so that each team had like 20 some people. I'm guessing. Like, how were the teams like assigned? Like, did people look at your background and say, okay, we'll put X number of backend people here and X number of front end people, or was it like a randomly drawn to assign a team?
so I think it was randomly drawn. I am not very much
Hmm.
aware of the process because, as
Okay.
I said, I didn't know about the team members who were there.
Right.
Uh, I don't think there were 20 people in one team. There were 5 people in a
Right.
team. So, but there were in
Right.
total 120 people, as much as I know. So I think there were around 20, 30 teams. I know 25 teams, I guess, around 25
Hmm.
teams.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
so
I
5
must have
people.
had the numbers flipped. Yeah.
Yes.
So, okay, cool. Yeah,
So
that
yeah,
that
I
makes
had
sense.
no idea about who were the participants with me.
Right.
I'm still friends with
Right.
all of them from my team, all the 5 people.
Nice.
We just have a call together sometimes.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I didn't go about joining JP Morgan at that time. I went to another
Hmm.
startup, but I know
Right.
2 of us, like who got the job offers from total 3, went there
Yeah.
and they are having a good time.
Cool. Cool. Well, I mean, there's nothing like 24-hour boot camp to create bond
Yeah.
among people, right? So cool. I mean, for people that are not familiar, I mean, tell us about like a GitLab hackathon. Like, I mean, tell us about like how you found out about it and the structures for. I mean, obviously, I'm intimately familiar with it, but for people that are listening, I mean, tell us about the GitLab hackathon and your experience. So,
Yeah. Before
yeah,
getting to the hackathon experience, I would like
yeah,
to tell how I got started with contributions to GitLab and what was the motivation
yeah,
initially.
sure, yeah,
So, like back in 2020, I was working at a company called Browser Stack, and I
Hmm.
wanted to make a switch to a much more bigger company, but also start working remote because there was a lot of travel between the current company at that time and my place.
Right,
So I stumbled upon GitLab, and GitLab also uses Ruby on Rails and Ruby at the backend.
right.
So I started contributing. I did a few contributions, and then I thought, okay, let's apply. We
Hmm.
know the code base a bit, and I think we can work as per the culture that GitLab has. So I
Hmm.
applied for a few roles, backend roles, and at that time, I think GitLab was actively hiring since it was in a growing phase at that time.
Yeah,
But yeah, I ended up getting rejections one after one. So I decided to take an alternate route. You know,
right,
uh, maybe instead of just blindly applying, let us prove our worth, because I think a single piece of page in a resume can't really justify that I whatever I can do for GitLab. So I
right.
decided to take the contributions route. So in
Hmm.
2020, I think I made a tweet saying I'm going to do 50 major contributions to GitLab in this
Right.
year. By the end of
Yep.
2020, I should have 50 contributions on my name. I decided to make it public so that I'm accountable for it, and I'm not just, stopping off if I don't make the goal, or if I
Hmm.
get bored or tired initially or demotivated for some reason.
Hmm.
But I started contributions, and to my surprise, the original goal of 50 contributions was completed in a few months. And
Yeah,
all of
I
that, I
remember
think,
that.
was because, yeah, all of that
Yeah.
was because of the valuable help that I received from the GitLab team members.
Right.
They were available whenever I wanted them. Whenever I added a comment on an issue, they were prompt to reply it and help me merge MRs one by one. And
Hmm.
slowly I started increasing my scope to contributions. And at that time, I think I stumbled upon Hackathon. I think it was our first call regarding that, and you mentioned that we had a hackathon, or
Yeah.
I think it was on Gitter where we had a chat about
Right.
issue
Yeah.
motivation, and you mentioned, hey, we conduct hackathons quarterly, see
Right.
if you would participate, and that is when I stumbled upon it. And then
Okay,
I thought
cool.
maybe this hackathon concept of having contributing to GitLab suits aligned with my goals of GitLab contributions. So I decided to participate.
Hmm. Cool,
And
cool.
yeah, that was how I discovered it.
Yeah, yeah, nice. Yeah, I mean, the format is obviously very different from, I mean, JP Morgan's. I mean, this being GitLab, it's all virtual. We
Yeah,
had uh, you know, uh, I think some of the aspects of the hackathons have changed from what I've seen, but over a 2 day period, you submit. I mean, the GitLab uses the term merge request versus pull request, but you submit merge requests, and if it gets merged, within a week or so, then those sort of count as your merge contributions. And yeah, I mean, I remember in the early days. Uh, I think our first hackathon in fall of 2018 had like 28 or 30 MRs like submitted or merged, right? And then I was ecstatic because that was more than we'd anticipated. But, thanks to people like you and others, like by the time I left, I think we were getting like 300. So that sort of way of like encouraging contributions. I mean, GitLab, I mean, still has an enormous emphasis on community contributions. I mean, that's why you saw a lot of engineers that are, I mean, these aren't like, these aren't the minority. I mean, now you're part of GitLab as well, but you take, like, if you community contribution comes in, then, you really value it and then really work with the contributors. So this is a way of sort of spreading the gospel, and I think it worked out pretty well. And especially the fact that it's virtual makes it easy for anybody from around the world to participate. Um, yeah, and then I also saw, I think that was sort of a documentation focused hackathon that happened like a few quarters ago. I thought that was cool. Like, I mean, that's something
yeah.
I wanted to do while I was there, but didn't get a chance to do. But I'm glad that it's going alive and well. Um, I mean, obviously I mean, I think after I left GitLab in 2020, late 2020, you finally landed your current role at GitLab. So you're sort of on the other side of the hackathon. And then, I mean, let me step back. Like, even before you joined GitLab, you were, I sort of asked you to become part of the core team member. I mean, core
Yes.
team at GitLab is key community member who may sustain contribution over a period of time. And I mean, obviously, you're a great candidate. I figure you'd be a good coach for community members and also speak for community's concern. So, you know, be, so becoming a core team member and becoming an employee, you're sort of on the other side of hackathon where, I mean, instead of just contributing, you're coaching people. So how have your roles changed and like, do hackathons feel different to you now versus when you're a community member? So,
Yes, yes.
uh,
So I think as a community member, the only job that you have is to raise MRs
mhm,
during hackathons or otherwise, and you tag relevant people to take a review. And
mhm,
generally, the person who reviews your first MR, you generally end up tagging them on multiple MRs. And if the
right.
MR rate is super high, you just tag them on multiple MRs, and this might bombard their notifications a lot. So this
Mhm,
is what I got to know after coming back to the other side of the hackathon. I think it's not
right.
very easy to review because you're not the only one who is
Mhm,
tagging them. There are 10 other people tagging them on their own MRs. So you
right.
have, like, as a coach or as a reviewer, you have 10 other merge requests of 10 different people and multiple
Mhm,
merge requests from each of those. So it's a super difficult thing to do, and keeping up with all the priorities that you have as a team internally within
mhm,
GitLab. Also have to be accountable for the community contributions because that's part of the job, and something that we all like as a GitLab team member like doing it. Get
mhm,
help community contributors make contributions.
right.
So yeah, I think it's I empathize with them now because
Mhm,
now I know the rate at which notifications they get and to respond
right.
them in the set timeline for hackathon. It's not that, yeah, you know, I'll just do my own work today and take a look at the MR tomorrow. It's not going to be good for the contributor because they have
Right.
a timeline to submit that MR and get it merged. And if there is a
Right.
review feedback cycle, uh, it goes on longer. Like if I send some feedback, the contributor works on it and then sends it back again. So that
Right.
takes the cycle longer and it might delay the merging of the MR. So, and
Mhm,
that hampers the winning chances of the hackathon participant. So it's I think a bigger responsibility than a community contributor because, like
right.
as I said, as a contributor, you're just raising MRs. You just expect them to get merged if it's all good,
Right.
but the real work goes behind the scenes. People reviewing it
Yeah.
because you just can't go ahead and merge them. You also have to review it, make sure the code is bug free and not causing production problems because
Right.
that would increase work for other team members like SREs or the on-call respondents within the team.
Mhm,
So it's a huge
right.
responsibility, I would say, and
Yeah.
I empathize with that now
Right.
because sometimes earlier, if like frankly speaking, if the due date was very closer and I see that my few of my MRs were open, I would just ping the reviewer
Right.
again and
Right.
I wouldn't make it sound frustrated, but I kind of felt behind the screen, like by
Right.
here on the side, like, oh my God, if this MR doesn't get merged, my count is lower by one. I would just lose this hackathon. What's happening? Why is the reviewer not
Right.
reviewing? Are they on leave or are they ignoring on purpose or like? But that's not the case.
Right.
No
Yeah.
one is ignoring your work. It is
Right.
there. It's on their radar. They'll take it up. It's just a matter of time, and it's
Right.
just a matter of priorities that they have at the moment.
Right. Right. No, I mean it's like I'm smiling a bit because I haven't uh heard the acronym MR in a while, having been in GitHub land for since I left GitLab. So I mean, I think like it was kind of funny to say the term PR versus MR and the merge
Yeah.
request versus pull request, and but yeah, it's good to hear that acronym back. And yeah, I think I remember like because I think as an organizer I would get pinged as well. I don't know if you're one of them. It's like, hey, like this I need this to be merged by like 17th. I'm making up the day. Like I haven't heard back from the reviewer. So I would sort of, escalate it internally and say, hey, like, I don't know if you're on leave, then, somebody else needs to take a look at this. But I mean, there might be one or two cases where I had to sort of make an exception because there was a reason why review couldn't be done on time. I forget the reason. Maybe it was complexity or the reviewer couldn't get to it on time. But I think for the most part, I mean, it was really, really rare. Like maybe once or twice I had to do that, like
Yes.
where I had to sort of make an exception. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like I applaud all the reviewers. I mean, they, I mean, made me look good as a community person because the reviewers and the um, all the engineers are just fantastic with community contributions. So, yeah, so it's funny how you're sort of experiencing the other experiencing this on the other side of the table. Um, yeah, so I guess circling back to your experience as a hackathon participant, I mean, obviously, like I think in both instances, like you didn't end up working at JP Morgan, like, it helped you career wise, both for GitLab and JP Morgan. So, I mean, obviously you got uh, that out of both hackathons, but especially for young developers, like what can they expect to gain from the hackathon experience, no matter which format it takes, whether it's in person, whether it's multi-day or just a 24-hour thing. But what would you say are like, based on your experience, some of the benefits of, participating in hackathon?
Yeah, yeah. So I think young developers, what they all
Hmm.
need is a platform to showcase their skills, because while in college, that
Hmm.
is of utmost importance to them.
Hmm.
They, they don't have any corporate experience before joining a first company. So this gives them a platform to, build connections, build network. And
Hmm.
if it's like they experience different things in different format. For example, the 24-hour format, they experience or learn how to work under pressure or how to think creatively. And while building a product or a solution to a problem, you will know when to cut corners and ship fast. You know
Hmm.
what is of more priority and what is not. You kind of learn how the actual work goes on behind the scenes in corporate when
Hmm.
the deadline for release is due or something like that. And in virtual events, I think you end up making a lot of connections. You end up
Hmm.
proving yourselves, and I think it's and there is no minute of the entire hackathon, whether either it is in person or virtual, is wasted by participating.
Hmm.
Or there will not be any dull moment in the entire process, and you say, I think I wasted my time, or I didn't end up learning anything. I don't think there is
Hmm.
any moment that you'll say this.
Hmm.
So I think it's about the platform, it's about the connections and the networking that you get. And you also get to experience an alternate route that companies use to hire candidates. Because
Hmm.
sometimes, for example, in the traditional interview process, some people kind of are not able to deliver good results under pressure. So they have some person
Hmm.
sitting in front of them, questioning them, and they have this pressure of doing well. But if the alternate route is of hackathons, you enjoy the process and also get rewards in the end if you did superbly well. The
Right.
competition is fierce. I understand that there are a lot many people who are much smarter than you, but it's all about tactical and analytical skills during the hackathons. Because I think I am not sure if I should say this, but winning an hackathon is not only about you doing best, but also making sure that
Hmm.
you're doing best than other teams.
Hmm.
So you have to be better than your peers there. And the right way of making that sure is to just see their work and just
Hmm.
analyze your work against them. It's
Hmm.
competitive. I understand. I'm not sure if it's not healthy or not, but I think that's the competition is healthy. It's not something that you're going and fighting for. It's just
Right.
you're observing the other peers and you're making yourselves better. You're carving your own stone by seeing if the other stone is more carved or it's more beautiful than yours. You
Right.
just end up
Right.
spending more time on your craft.
Right.
So yeah, I think this is a very good platform. And just mentioning that JP Morgan did continue this format over the years till now.
Hmm.
It's called Code for Good
Okay.
Hack. Yeah, it's invite only, I think.
Hmm.
You can't go and apply right ahead, but it's only
Right.
invite only. You go to colleges or institutions and asks
Okay.
this to come in and pitch in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. No, I mean, I think, I mean, you don't want it to be too cutthroat where it's unhealthy, but you're right. I
Yes.
mean, it kind of sharpens your skills, right? Because
Yes.
I mean, you are, I mean, you're not just all getting awarded for participating. Like, people want to see good work. And I mean, if you end up winning the grand prize, great. But even if you don't, you're gonna really be able to sort of refine and craft your skills. So
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. And I mean, I see this especially in many communities, especially students. I mean, they'll have opportunities to do I mean, quote unquote, real work through internship. But I mean, the benefit of these hackathons is that even when you're taking classes, you can take a few hours off a day or a few days to sort of participate in this to get like you said, a real world experience in a sort of a condensed format. And I've seen a lot of people sort of list them on their profiles and CVs, and obviously, hopefully, just like you, it'll help with their careers or just even enhance their learnings from school. I mean, school learning's great, but it's I think slightly different. I think a lot of students realize and what happens in a corporate environment. Cool. So if there are people that are sort of on the fence about participating in a hackathon or don't have a lot of good experience, like I mean, do you have any other advice that you want to share especially to young developers about, like either choosing the right hackathon or considering whether they should participate or not?
I think it comes down to the format or the
Mm-hmm.
problem statement for the hackathon if that interests
Mm-hmm.
you. But I think if you're the first, if you're very early beginner to participate in the hackathons, I would advise to just participate. You don't
Mm-hmm.
expect anything, because if you expect, you'll end up, uh, you know, demotivating yourself if you don't get what you're expecting. So just
Mm-hmm.
participate and just try to experience what the format is, because I'm sure whichever hackathon you participate, there's always going to be version 2 of it. It's not like this
Right.
is the only version and this is the only one they are hosting. There will be multiple events similar to this. Like, for example,
Cool.
as I mentioned, JP Morgan is still doing it,
Right.
and GitLab is still doing it. And there
Yep.
are other portals that I don't remember the names of these portals, but there are portals that lists hackathons that's
Yeah.
happening in the entire
Right.
world, wherever they are,
Yeah.
like along with the format, like whether it's in person or whether it's virtual. And instead of thinking of the rewards from the first one
Mm-hmm.
itself, you just experience, just absorb and see if you like the environment, see if you like the vibe, and see
Mm-hmm.
if you would want to come back. And once you experience that, you'll know for sure for the second time, like how you can participate and how you can make a mark, win it.
Mm-hmm.
Because for the JP Morgan case, it's not just the first runner up, our team, the grand prize winner was not only offered jobs. There were other people in
Mm-hmm.
other teams who didn't make the cut, but they were still offered jobs because they were being observed. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
win for some other reason, lack of teamwork or anything, but I think they were awarded for their own individual skills.
Mm-hmm.
So similarly, if you participate in any format, you end up winning individually. You will take a lot more than what you have given to participate in the hackathon.
Right, right. Cool. No, yeah. I mean, like one of the, I mean, platforms we decided to go with for our own hackathon is a platform called DevPost. I mean, so I first learned about that company and then went to their website, and you're right, there are hundreds of different hackathons that are happening around the world
Yeah.
in like NGO type of projects, life sciences, financial services, like targeting like very young developers. And I was floored at the amount of hackathons that are happening around the world at any time. So yeah, I mean, for those people that are interested, I'll put information on the hackathon on our YouTube page for people that want to join. And yeah, and in general, I mean, especially if people that are interested in open source, I think this is a good way to, uh, I mean, not only participate in the hackathon, but learn about the community. I mean, if you participate
Yes.
in a hackathon, you'll get a chance, whether it's in person or virtually, interact with a lot of reviewers or even maintainers, and experience the review process, for example, right? And then I think you'll also have a chance to sort of glean their culture and see if this is a community that you're gonna like. So cool.
Yeah, and to add to that,
Go.
yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying, to add to that, you end up making a
Yeah.
lot of friends. I mean, I'm still in connect with the people that have worked at JP Morgan. I am
Yeah.
working with people at GitLab who helped me, merge my code requests.
Right.
So
Right.
you end up building camaraderie, and a lot of hackathons are of team based, that you bring your own team. So it's like, if you just participate and you're observing, you're also getting observed. So you
Right.
might get adapted to a team where you enjoy working with the set of people, and you all just
Right.
kill all the hackathons in future,
Right.
participating the same team
Right.
on and on again.
Right. Right.
I have a friend who entirely does this with a fixed set of people, participate in multiple hackathons and win those prizes that
Oh,
they have.
wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
he's just always on the lookout the next hackathon that he is,
Oh,
and
okay.
and like time and time again he was a participant, and now he actually judges the hackathon as a
Oh,
judge on an event.
wow. Cool.
So that's
Cool.
the kind of growth that you can see. Like, if you're very
Yeah.
serious and if you enjoy it. I don't think
Right.
he did it as a goal to become a judge. Rather, he enjoyed the process of the hackathon, and the
Right.
result of being a judge and winning prizes is just a byproduct, I guess. It is
Hmm.
just byproduct which you get by doing what you love. Even for the JP
Right.
Morgan, for the GitLab, I enjoyed the process very much.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that's actually, as a community manager, I sort of found out like after the fact, like people like you were making connections with other people in the hackathon, although you weren't working on the same thing, right? Because I mean,
Yes.
these are all individual contributions at GitLab, but you're funding each other on Gitter channel we had, or like on LinkedIn. So I mean, that was actually I was blown away by that, and I mean, people tell me about like other contributors that I work with. They say, yeah, I was able to sort of connect this other developer in Japan, like who was working in the same industry. So yeah, I mean that connection, especially in open source, is it's pretty cool, and you can form some strong bonds, like even if
Yeah.
you're in different countries.
Your
So
work gets noticed. I mean,
yeah,
that's the important thing to
yeah.
that other people use to vouch you for the
Mhm.
companies, the referrals.
Yeah, cool. All right. So, I mean, I definitely appreciate your time. So I like to close with sort of what we call closing trivia with all of our guests. I mean, Rajendra, you mentioned that you're from Mumbai. I've never had a chance to visit like uh, India in general, or Mumbai in particular. Tell listeners about Mumbai that you think people don't know much about. Like, I mean, share something about like whether it's a cool, nice restaurant, or things like you like to do, or things that you like about Mumbai that most people don't know about.
Yeah, I think about the restaurants or places already in the public domain, but
Yeah,
there's also one thing in the public domain which I feel is incorrect, and that is seeing Mumbai as an urban jungle with no trees at all. But I think
right.
that's false. There are a lot many areas where we have good gardens and good trees, and there is breathable space and breathable air. Otherwise, when it
Wow.
comes to Mumbai, everyone thinks about two things. One is tall, high-rise buildings and pollution. But it's not the
Uh-huh.
case. It's not the only case, I mean. There are a
Right.
lot of places within Mumbai where you can just be pleasant. Like, it just feels like being in the Central Park in New York.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, that's one misconception that I've seen other people have who have not been here, spreaded by people who have been here. But they
Right.
have just seen some
Okay.
parts and not the all. Yeah.
Well, good to know. Because I mean, I always thought of Mumbai as sort of a commercial hub, and then when you think of commercial hub, you think of
All rise
urban
building.
sprawls or tall high rises. But yeah, it's good to hear that there's a lot of greenery there too. So now you're giving me more reasons to want to come to Mumbai and visit the city, and then hopefully you too. So
Yeah, definitely. I would love you
cool.
to host.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Rajendra, thanks again for your time. And, I certainly enjoy working with you. And then we sort of made, kept in touch over the past few years too, even during the pandemic. So it's always good to connect with you. And thanks for sharing your experience and your advice on hackathons for a lot of aspiring developers. And hope you enjoy your vacation in the summer, and then we'll connect again soon.
Yep. Thanks. Thanks.
Uh,
Thanks for having
uh,
me. Hope it was
uh,
helpful for our young hackathon participants. So,
I'm
yeah.
I'm sure it will be. Thank you.